Hello vinyl community, I'm back again to do another Tales of the Deadwax. Today I'm featuring mastering great Bob Ludwig. Many of you have commented about how great he sounds and that I should cover him in this series, and you're absolutely right. He was one of those ones that I always wanted to cover. Bob Ludwig has his own mastering studio now, and he's had this for I want to say over 2 decades now in Portland, Maine. And now he is helping to mentor the next generation of mastering engineers. And you know, one of the pieces I'd like to highlight here, I didn't pull it out of my collection, I do have it, is the new Daft Punk record. And you know, he had his hand in the mastering of this, even though his Deadwax imprint is not there. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't pull and feature this one. But one of the prides and joys of my collection, I was very fortunate to get this. I just found it, you know, digging, and I got it for like $15. And this is Led Zeppelin II, the infamous Bob Ludwig cut. So this album has a very interesting story, and I've shown this clip before, but I have to feature it again, and I'll just let Bob tell it in his own words.
That record, so I'm still really pretty young doing Led Zeppelin II, right? And I lived just several blocks from Paul Rothchild, who was a very famous producer who produced all the Doors records. Paul had a hi-fi system at his house, so I took the Led Zeppelin pressing over to his house. I still have the original test pressing from Led Zeppelin II in my possession. And took it over to his house and played it from beginning to end. There was no skips, no nothing, and it was fine. So I gave my approval. Eddie Fremer gave his approval. The record got mastered, went to all the radio stations, no problem. And then when it got issued to all the general public, it turns out that because it was so hot, people with really cheap turntables, like Ahmet Erdogan's daughter, that would skip. And so Ahmet hears this and freaks out, and has Atlantic Studio recut it from our EQ'd master. They cut all the bass out of it so that it wouldn't skip, and compressed it, and the thing sounded real puny and So to this day, the first edition of Led Zeppelin II records are real collector's items.
So that was Bob talking about this. Now, of course, they're not super difficult to find, but once Led Zeppelin started to take off and other cuts of this album came out, then yeah, it's a little more difficult. The word is out on the street. I mean, people that have them and are trying to sell them, I mean, they go on eBay for over 3 figures if you can find them. But I still think you can find these cheap, and there's a lot of owners, shop owners that sometimes don't know what they have. So not to take advantage of the situation, but if you see one, definitely take a look at the Deadwax. Now, his Deadwax is easy. He just puts RL. So look for the RL in the Deadwax, and you're guaranteed to have a great sounding record. Now, you're wondering, okay, Michael Fremer had this album playing on his Caliburn. I'm going to transition to a cut where I do a transition between this and a slightly ladder pressing where they compress the audio so you can hear the difference. Here you go. So, you know, what are some of the other things that he's cut? So he's cut jazz albums, he's cut classical albums, he's done a lot of rock albums. Now, granted, his cuts, you have to look at the Deadwax, because, you know, a lot of the stuff that he has cut, you know, it's been repressed different times, it's been cut by different mastering engineers, so you really have to look at the Deadwax. But just to highlight a few things from my own personal collection, this is Dust. This is kind of an early hard rock band, and it does feature Mark Bell, who was the drummer of the Ramones, and he was in this band before the Ramones. And you know, this is a really good solid album. Dust was not a bad band at all, and if you see this, I recommend picking it up and giving it a sample. And here's just a shot of what the Deadwax looks like. You see the RL. Next one up, you know, he's been cutting in every single decade. One of the ones that I picked up for $10. Actually, I got this lawsuit. I got it at a discount at Half Price Books. I really need to take the sticker off, but this is an original cut of Tattoo You. Again, just phenomenal job. Here's a shot of the Deadwax. Another one that, you know, I picked up at Half Price Books. I did not pay the price on the sticker. It's another one I need to take the sticker off. I think I ended up getting this for like $15. This is Shake Your Booty by Frank Zappa. He did a number of Frank Zappa albums, and, you know, Shake Your Booty. Yeah, this is classic Zappa. So, shot of the Deadwax. Now, my local record shop, Sweet Spot Audio, who, you know, I got to give a shout out to. They picked one of these up. They asked me, "Hey, do you have Buckingham Nicks?" And I'm like, "No, this is another sought-out record," and, you know, he did the cut of this one. So here's a shot of the Deadwax. I think the last one I'm going to show. So this is all stuff that most people just recognize, and, you know, I don't want to show a lot of obscure stuff, but ZZ Top, classic album. Yeah, Eliminator. Fantastic record, and yeah, just to show you, brand new at the time, $7.99. So times have changed. This was another thing that you can find in the used bin for $2, and this was like a minty fresh copy. So there you have it. If you got to look for RL in the Deadwax. He did a lot of Hendrix stuff, but he was not the first mastering engineer to touch the Hendrix album, so he did some of the latter pressings. So if you see a Hendrix album, I don't personally have one that has an RL, grab it, take it, run with it. So what do you guys think about Bob Ludwig? Leave me a comment down below, and thank you for watching.